So back in 2021, we got news that a new Sonic movie and the new Sonic game was coming out in 2022. Later on at the Game Awards, we got the first teasers for these new projects, as well as Netflix announced that a new Sonic animated TV show was releasing in 2022. Fans were excited for these new projects and started naming 2022 as the year of Sonic. Fast forward to today, and then we've already gotten these new projects. Not one, but two Sonic games come out this year. So I think it's best to have an in-depth review of each project to see what went down and if it was a good year for Sonic. Now you're probably wondering, hold up, we got a new Sonic movie, 2 games, and a TV show. How could this not be good? Well, critics thought Sonic Movie 2 was kind of mid, as well as their bugs when Sonic Origins dropped. Sonic Frontiers got okay reviews, while still people thought it was a dumpster fire. And as for Sonic Prime, it ended the first season with the confusing cliffhanger that almost made me have mixed feelings on the entire show. So yeah, there are some reasons how it could have been bad, but I'm going to review these projects to see for myself and from my perspective and opinion. Before I begin this video, it says that 1.9% of my viewers actually watch my videos. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, and now let's get into the video. I remember before Sonic Movie 2 came out, I had to get my braces, and I tell you, as soon as I got my braces, I was not feeling the happiest. As soon as you get your braces, your teeth are sore for like the next 2 to 3 days. And when I went to the movies, it was a nice change of pace because I was going to be watching the Sonic 2 movie. It was basically what I was looking forward to the entirety of my life after Sonic 1 came out. But when I watched the movie, I really enjoyed it. But I'm not here to give you my life story or anything. I'm here to review this movie. For starters, the movie begins with Eggman after the first movie in the Mushroom Planet, later found by Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba, the Black Superman guy from Hobbs & Shaw, in case you guys didn't know.
When you shot me, you gave me a gift. Look at me. I'm Black Superman.
We then cut to Sonic trying to be like Batman, just wrecking an entire city block while trying to fight crime. Next morning comes and Tom talks to Sonic about how Sonic is still just a kid and he needs to wait for his moment to be the hero he wants to be. And Sonic is just all, "Shut up, you ain't my dad. I snuck out because he didn't come back with the milk for my Fruity Pebbles." But anyway, since Tom and Maddie were going on a trip to Maddie's sister's Rachel's wedding, but they have to leave Sonic at home, which isn't explained at all in this movie since Rachel has already met Sonic. Kind of. We then cut to a Home Alone type montage where Sonic is just being a kid, tearing up the house, and that's when Tails appears like in the end credit scene of the first movie. But a little later, Sonic is just chilling, watching TV, and then the lights go out. And then Eggman breaks in.
Somebody's fabulous!
Sonic jumps out to knock him out, but Sonic is just like,
"Surprise, mother!"
And then we kind of learn that Knuckles has been searching for Long Claw's apprentice, this guy, to destroy him to restore honor for his tribe. But before Knuckles can strike, Tails comes in to save Sonic and tells him how he's his #1 fan and why Knuckles was trying to find Sonic.
He's obsessed with finding the Master Emerald, and he must think you're the key to finding it.
Anyway, they lose Knuckles. We then cut to Agent Stone setting a big egg ship cargo thing, which gives him the new suit and tricks Knuckles by convincing him that he'll help him to find Sonic and the Emerald, when really Eggman is going to use it for himself. Back to Sonic, he's trying to find out why Knuckles mentioned Long Claw, and out of nowhere, Long Claw appears from the map in a ghostly blue form. Real quick though, remember how in the first movie Sonic said Long Claw was kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars?
That's Long Claw. She took care of me. She was basically Obi-Wan Kenobi, if Obi-Wan Kenobi had a beak and ate mice.
Tell me this isn't a Star Wars reference or even a 1990 Ninja Turtle movie reference. Prove me wrong in the comments, I dare you. But anyway, Long Claw tells Sonic that he sent him to Earth so he can protect the Master Emerald, which is Knuckles' job in the actual series, and how he has to find the compass, and on the map, it says that it's in Siberia. So Tails and Sonic use the portal ring to go to Siberia, and they find a bar cabin. At the same time this is happening, Tom was messing with JoJo, Rachel's daughter, with the wedding rings and accidentally gave her one of the portal rings instead of one of the actual wedding rings, which means this is important. At the same time, Eggman finds out that Sonic is in Siberia, ditches Stone for Knuckles, and goes to search for Sonic. Back to Tails and Sonic, they get into some problems to start a scene that's only here to remind us that this is a kids movie after all. But after this, they find a cave that leads to a giant owl statue which gives them the compass. As everything seems to be going well, Eggman and Knuckles show up and it becomes a huge fight down the snowy hill for the compass. We take a little pause and Knuckles just kind of explains how on the day when Sonic left this planet, he lost his tribe. So it turns out Long Claw and the Echidna tribe fought and practically everyone died. Tails gets knocked out, Eggman steals the compass, and now Sonic is just snowboarding to his almost inevitable death, which is why he calls Tom when literally Rachel and her husband are about to say their I do's. Finds out that he messed up the rings because he has to save Sonic, so now well, let me show you because I'm getting tired of talking. Sonic and Tails arrive just out of nowhere. We find out that Rachel's husband, Randall, and the guests are GUN spies to get Sonic, which somehow his mission is to marry Rachel, which, after thinking about it, actually can make some sense.
So is everyone here an agent?
We get a scene where Maddie and Rachel just kind of work together to save Sonic and confront Randall. The whole Randall and Rachel thing is a subplot for this movie, which I think was one of the things that people don't like from this movie. But from the way I see it, they kind of want to give the human characters some light as a way to take a break from the main CGI characters, which to be honest I can see and respect. Back to Eggman and Knuckles, they find the island temple thing where the emerald is, and at the same time Sonic sees this and just kind of ditches everyone to fight on his own because he kind of feels guilty that he got Tails hurt. But basically, Sonic gets to the temple and just kind of meets Knuckles and Eggman over there, which leads to a really good Knuckles versus Sonic fight that blew me away when I first saw it. Eggman betrays Knuckles, and when the temple is falling, Sonic and Knuckles help each other from drowning. Gives us a heart-to-heart talk between the two on why Sonic even helped Knuckles. Now he realizes what it means to be a hero. So now they're friends. Yay! Eggman goes back to Green Hills, which just kind of terrorizes the town with a Death Egg robot he whipped up in like 15 seconds. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he's Super Eggman now. All of this leads to a fight. Tails and Knuckles try to reach into the robot where Eggman is, and Sonic tries to have him chase him. Eggman knocks him out of a bridge, and Knuckles punches the emerald out of him. Tom and Maddie get involved. Sonic grabs the emeralds, but it cracks open and the tiny Chaos Emeralds come out, and they all die. And yeah, that's how it ends.
I'm hanging on to the other side. I won't give up till the end of me.
Supersonic just kind of pushes the robot over, and it's unknown that if Eggman actually died or not, but they celebrate playing baseball. Sonic calls Tom his dad. Aww. And that's it. But we also have an end credit scene like in the first movie, where we find out about a file from over 50 years called Project Shadow, which gets me hyped for the new movie in 2024. And it's actually supposed to release near Christmas, and it's the same time when Avatar 3 comes out, so if anything, Sonic 3 has a competition here. Now, I'm gonna try and be as non-biased on Sonic as I can be, but this movie is really good. The story is good. It's basically Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles combined. The acting is good, as it always is. The voice acting for the Sonic characters is top notch, especially with Idris Elba as Knuckles. Knuckles is a character like Drax that takes everything seriously and doesn't really know anything about Earth, and it's custom. Tails was voiced by his OG voice actress in Sonic X, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, and it never feels the same good. The CGI is, well, okay. I know the CGI is different since the VFX studio shut down after Sonic 1 due to the redesign. Now they got a new studio for it. Now, to be fair, I do think the CGI in this one is pretty good. I felt it was a bit tad wonky at a couple parts, but still good. I still prefer the CGI from Sonic 1 though. I guess it's because they had Tails and Sonic kind of look different from the first movie, because in this one they look a bit like the cartoon versions like from Sonic X, which is nice, but I'm somehow still used to the way how they look from Sonic 1. The movie has a pretty good action, especially between the fight with Sonic and Knuckles. The whole movie is faithful to the games, and as a Sonic fan, it's one of the reasons why I think this is one of my favorite movies. Can't really set on an exact score for this movie, but I'm giving it an 8.8 to 9 out of 10 rating. It's really good. I do recommend watching this movie. Sonic Origins was released on Sonic's birthday, and it's where you could play the main 4 classic games: Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Now here's the thing, I haven't played Sonic Origins, so take my opinion with a grain of salt if you will, but I don't think this game was necessary to release. Now if you have an Xbox or PlayStation, I understand you can't buy the classic games individually, but if you have a smartphone, Nintendo Switch, or a PC, maybe not get it. And it's $40 for a game that has 4 games in it that costs like $3 individually. That price is ridiculous, like they're trying to rip us off. That's not the only reason why I'm not gonna get this. Plus, this game was really bugged and glitchy when it released. I can't give it that much hate though, because the game is playing 4 main classic title titles, which is cool, seemed good, but not needed. So I'm just give this a 6.8 out of 10. But like I said, take it with a grain of salt since I haven't played it. Sonic Frontiers was said to be Sonic's first step into a new generation for the franchise for the new decade, so it kinda set some high expectations from a lot of fans. I already said in another video before the game came out that this is a big step for Sonic, and that this game was going to be in an open zone hope world type game, which is a bit similar to games like Sonic Adventure, Unleashed, and Rise of Lyric. But is this game a good step into the right direction? Well, let's see and find out. I'm gonna do this review in 2 parts, the story and the gameplay. So let's get this going, shall we? It starts off with Eggman finding a statue thing from the ancient ruins and inserting his piece of technology in it. Something weird happens and now he got sucked into wherever he went. We then cut to Sonic, Tails, Amy, and the Tornado tracking the Chaos Emeralds, which leads to the Starfall Islands. Out of nowhere, a portal shows up and sucks them all into their little prisons. The only one who escaped from it was Sonic, and he learns he has to find the Chaos Emeralds and fight the Titans to free them from the normal dimension in the cyberspace dimension where Eggman was sucked into. So in the Starfall Islands, he fights these little to big monsters, I guess you can say, while trying to find enough vault keys to get each emerald. On the first island, he saves Amy, and then the cyber energy stuff that kept Amy prisoner kind of absorbs into Sonic a bit. And we also meet our supposed antagonist, Sage, who tells Sonic he has to lead the island. But Sonic is trying to free his friends, so what happens is Sage has the first Titan, just absolutely claps Sonic all the way to the other side of the map. And he realizes that he has to find the emeralds to become Super Sonic to fight the Titan to free Amy. Same goes for the other islands, with Knuckles and Tails. Another thing that's on these islands are the Coco, the Starfall Islands version of the Chao. And like in Sonic Adventure with the Chao, the Coco have their own little history with the islands and their overall story in the game. And the cutscene where Amy is with Sonic with a couple of Coco is a little flashback from the ancient's past, and they kind of look like Chaos Zero if I'm not wrong. Not to mention the fact that the Coco would just give up their souls for no reason at all. And throughout the game, Sage just tells Sonic to leave the islands or he'll die with no explanation. Anyway, back to the first island. Sonic gets to 6 Chaos Emeralds and he has to find the 7th one on top of the boss. You play the fight, and Amy is not her normal self. So Sonic realizes he has to fight all the Titans so he can free his friends. As Sonic travels to the next island, a laser zaps the emeralds out of Sonic, so he has to find them again. He then frees Knuckles, and again the cyberspace energy that kept him prisoner absorbs into Sonic. We do kind of get some more info on the ancients and the history of the Coco. So the ruins on the islands are similar to the ones in Sonic's world. We also get a deep conversation between Sonic and Knuckles, and Sage is listening to it and realizes that maybe she might stop killing Sonic. She's more confused about why he keeps going and knowing his apparent fate. But anyway, he finds the emeralds, fight the boss, and goes to the next island to only find the emeralds again. He's able to freeze Tails, and more cyber energy absorbs into Sonic to where it looks like it's negatively affecting him. We also get a deep conversation with Tails and how he feels like he's a burden. Sonic makes him feel better by telling the times like he was popping off and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like when he saved Sonic from the Zeddy and how he fought Eggman at Station Square and how Tails is still growing up. He then decides he wants to fight Solo a little, and Sonic is cool with that. So, kind of something I didn't even mention was that while all this is happening, Sage is trying to get Eggman out of cyberspace. And here's another thing, Eggman cares about Sage, at least a little more than he does for Orbot and Cubot, but still, Sage was listening to Sonic and Tails' conversation, just acknowledging their friendship is just cool, I guess. How they're not blood related and the relationship was like brother to brother, kind of like something like that. And she's realizing that Eggman and Sonic can work together to survive for whatever's gonna happen to them. Sage tells Eggman her idea, and he's just like,
No! God, please, no!
Sonic fights the 3rd Titan. Forgot to say there's 4 Titans. This 3rd boss might actually be my favorite, but I don't know why. So now he travels to the 4th island, which I'm pretty sure is just the 5th island on the other side. But Sonic climbs these towers, and on the top of them are these stone things to learn more about the ancients' history. What we learn is that their planet was destroyed by their enemies, so they tried to fight back, but they failed. But as he's learning this, more cyber energy absorbs in him, which makes him kind of stuck between dimensions. And Amy, Tails, Knuckles are free, but they see Sonic like this, so they do this to free him. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it works. Now Sage finally convinces Eggman to work with Sonic because the last Titan is coming. So now they're working together at this point. So now Sonic finds the emeralds, fights the final Titan, and now is expected to have everything done, right? Nope! Eggman looks like he's literally about to cry, and what he said just stuck with me.
Be careful, dear daughter.
Anyway, at this point, I was hyped for a boss fight with Sage controlling the Titan with Super Sonic. It was gonna be like the Sonic Unleashed final boss, or so I thought. A moon! A freaking moon! It was alright. They defeat the boss and now everyone is free. Now, I don't know if I explained all of this well, but I tried to get the more important stuff of the story and a couple of interesting stuff. But the story-wise, in my opinion, the entire origin with the Starfall Islands, the ancients' backstory, and the main story for the game with Sonic, it's pretty good. Now for part 2, when you're playing this game, it's like you can run freely with all your heart's content, which is cool. I just love the feeling of being Sonic running around these islands. It's kind of chill. In this game, you can actually level up your strength for combat and your speed. I just noticed this is a similarity with Sonic Unleashed. But to do that, you have to find certain items in the game to give it to the Hermit Coco, which helps you with speed and bigger ring capacity, and the Elder Coco, which helps you with combat strength. You can also find emblems to talk to Sonic's friends that help you go along with the game, As for combat around the island, you fight these little to big cyber robots when you get close to them. Combat itself is good, but surprised me when I got this game, there was a skill tree. You use skill points to redeem new moves from defeating little various cyber robots. These moves are actually kind of sick to use. The main skill move is Salute, and it's a skill you can easily get when you begin the game, and the most useful too. When you lose rings, you just use the Salute to get more rings, skill points, sometimes emblems to talk to characters. There are certain cyber robots you have to fight that are like medium to big robots that once you defeat them, you receive a portal gear, which you use to open and play cyberspace levels around the island. These are the levels in the part of the game where Eggman was most of the time. But the levels are like speedrun levels. There are also certain objectives to gain vault keys, which I said were to unlock the Chaos Emeralds, like getting all the red star rings, getting an S rank, and getting a certain amount of rings. There's a lot of stuff in the islands with like little platforms and rails to run on, to collect the rings and emblems, and sometimes you need them to get a certain location as you're playing, especially on the third island. I feel like I was burned out the first time. On that one, since I'm actually replaying this game, the only problem I have with the cyberspace levels mostly is that Sonic feels not as fast, and when he does a boost jump, he just flies all the way across the level. And another thing is that if you have a lot of rings and you get hit, you lose a lot, and only 20 rings drop on the ground to collect back. One thing I forgot to mention was that on the islands you make your map more clearer. Why does that sound so weird? By doing these little tasks which help you get a certain percentage of how much the map you cleared up. Another thing I should mention is that Big is in this game. Yeah, you have to find a certain portal statue thing that glows purple, which will lead you to Big. And around these islands you can collect these purple coins, which you can use to fish with Big once you enter the portal. One thing about catching all these fish, the bigger the fish, the more fish tokens you get. This is actually useful since you can buy stuff with these tokens like character emblems, vault keys, skill points, and other stuff. On the last island I had a lot of purple coins, so I started to just start fishing for a while. Just to buy the vault key so I didn't have to scour the entire island for portal gears because I'm lazy. As for the boss fights, you play as Super Sonic, and the controls are actually pretty good. It's kind of like in Sonic Unleashed. And the combat is good, and if you're a Sonic fan, usually know the Sonic games, Sega uses Super Sonic as the final part of the game. But in this game, they decided to do that for every last part of the island. And personally, I think this is a good idea. You know what else is cool about these boss fights? The vocal theme soundtracks that play in the background. And these songs are probably the best one since we got, in my opinion, the late 2000s with Endless Possibilities and Night of the Wind. Things for Sonic Forces are still cool, but not like these hood classics. The last thing though, I said that the final boss was facing off a moon, and for those who haven't played this game or haven't seen gameplay on White Sea on how this boss worked, let me explain. So one of the little tasks you do to keep the story going sometimes was to play on a computer, which I'm pretty sure was just like Sonic's Frontiers version of Space Invaders or some sort of space game, I don't know. In this game you also have 3 lives. The boss fight was literally the same thing, except there were lasers, in which I died instantly from, but after a certain amount of time of dying too much, you get another life, which is the game feeling sorry for you, I'm pretty sure. But I was not giving up because after dying and getting close and close and close, alive, I had a certain amount of lives to where this boss could finally be over. Alrighty. Finally, I did it. I beat this thing of a boss. Just finally. The gameplay itself was actually pretty good. Like I said, it's to just run fast and freely around the island. A lot. The combat when you're fighting is cool as well. The moves you can unlock actually help you fight bigger enemies and bosses faster and deal a little more damage than regular attacks. I think that's the Sonic game. We got a really good Sonic game in a while. The 10,000s games were good, but not as good as the ones from the 2000s. This game does have its flaws, which I'm not gonna think about more because typing up the script has just put an effect on me. But overall, this game deserves a well-respected 8.6 out of 10. Now, down to the last project. Finally, Sonic Prime. The weekend before the show came out, it was my high school's winter formal. I didn't have a day, but I went with some friends. Yeah, your boy Sonic Bruh has no game with the ladies because I don't try and it's not something I'm really focused on doing. But that didn't matter because on that dance floor, I'm a full-on Michael Jackson / Juice WRLD, and the crowd was chanting my name. Sonic Bruh, Sonic Bruh, Sonic Bruh. Next 2 days later, it was the start of my finals week. The same week, Sonic Prime came out, and I was down sick. I ended up being sick up until the last day of finals. Which honestly, thank God, because Sonic Prime came out on a Thursday. So of course this week I wish I was at school, not gonna lie. Okay, skipping to the point, the last day I was sick, I binge watched all 22-minute episodes, and these are my final thoughts as I tell the story of another Sonic project and death again. This is the last time, I promise, I'm sorry. Episode 1, which by the way is 40 minutes. The show starts with Sonic introducing everything from his friends and enemies, But next we cut to Eggman digging up a shiny, potentially dangerous crystal called the Paradox Prism. Sonic and his friends are trying to stop him, and as an attempt, Sonic spin dashes straight for the prism while everyone was saying like, "Wait, Sonic, hold up for a sec!" But it was too late. The prism is shattered, and now Sonic is transported to a world that he doesn't recognize. Everyone's acting weird, and the robots start to chase him. Plus, his shoes are acting weird. Sonic later figures out that he's in Green Hill, but it looks like Eggman finally took over it. A flashback cuts in, and as it says before, the prism shattered, and Eggman is fighting Sonic. But Tails thinks that there's something up with how the fight is going. Finds out that Eggman's not even inside. It tells Sonic that it's a trap, but Sonic ain't listening. Eggman just decides to trash talk on Tails, which really triggers Sonic. So he just pounds him to the ground, and there's this huge radiation explosion thing. Later, Tails and Sonic examine the device that was in the machine, which caused the radiation. Rouge appears and tells them about why Eggman chose to fight, to be at the location where his machine was at. And so his friends go and regroup, but then we cut back to the present, and Sonic is being chased and escaping from an Eggman-type machine that's being controlled by a baby. Rouge and Knuckles appear now with Sonic and find out that there's a blue speedy porcupine thing that also hates the Chaos Console, which I'll explain in a bit. Sonic finds Tails but there's something off. Tails doesn't have 2, but 9 tails. Well, 7 are made of the machine, but still, come on, Sega. We know we're not ripping out Pokemon at this point. It's obvious. This guy's name is 9, and starts to try to fight Sonic, but 9 almost gets crushed by a train, and Sonic saves him. Sonic tries to convince him how they're friends and how he remembers when they met, but 9 had a different story. When 9 got bullied for having multiple tails, he invented multiple tails as weapons and tools, but hides alone from everyone. However, 9 just kinda agrees to work with Sonic. 9 then puts these devices on Sonic's gloves and shoes since he notices his shoes are burning from the energy Sonic has in his body, which kinda fixes his shoes and attunes to his energy. But Sonic is just way too excited. He runs out of the 9's lab. 9 just follows him. He's like, "Bro, the console's gonna catch us if we're caught lacking out here." And then boom, they're captured from the baby robot thing. Knuckles and Rouge are seeing this as well. He's then captured in this Incredibles prison holder thing with 9 on the side with the handcuffs. He then sees Amy with them, but turns out she's just all roboticized like in the Sad AM show, now named Rusty Rose, working for the Chaos Console, which now we meet. The Chaos Console is made of 5 people: Dr. Dunnit, Dr. Deep, Dr. Don't, who like me is just completely lazy, Dr. Babble, the baby from earlier, and Mr. Dr. Eggman, which looks like a version of Eggman in his late to mid 20s. They decide to put him through a test trying to dodge traps and stuff to analyze his energy. While he's doing this, they just bully 9, which triggers Sonic, so he just goes crazy fast, running in a huge ball thing, and as he's doing this, he sees a silhouette of Shadow. Then we cut to another flashback after they regroup. Sonic just runs to grab rings to get ready for battle, but then out of nowhere, Shadow just sucker punches Sonic out of nowhere. And that's episode 1, and now to episode 2. This is where we're introduced to Shadow a little. So remember how when Sonic put Eggman's machine to the ground and caused a radiation explosion thing? It shook all of Green Hill and when it hit Shadow, he already knew it was Sonic. So now they get in a fight, and when Sonic realizes he's late with his friends, Shadow just socks him in the face, and we cut back to the present. When Sonic was captured, Rouge and Knuckles went back to the HQ because they're part of a rebellion. But one of the rebels recorded something that Sonic said when 9 was trying to fight him.
Snap out of it. We go way palm trees?
It starts to trigger a flashback where in their world, all of Green Hill was took over, and they saw a palm tree to remember why they're fighting. So then Rouge and Knuckles head to the council's tower to find them. So we cut back to Sonic just running and running, where it creates another radiation explosion that cuts the power of the entire city. They have a backup power thing, so it only matters a bit, but it's where they realize that Sonic has the same energy as their parent Crystal Battery. So they just decided to kill Sonic, but at the right time, Rouge and Knuckles appear. Nine and Sonic are free, and now it's an all-out battle between the furries and the robots. Next, episode 3. It's another flashback between Sonic and Shadow. Sonic spin attacks Shadow to a wall, while Sonic goes to fight with his friends, but Shadow's practically annoyed and mad at Sonic, so he just chases him to where the fight for the first episode was in. Then we cut to Rusty almost about to finish him like how Batman almost did, but she didn't since Nairo programmed Rusty to work with them. Now they figure out a plan to find the energy crystal that powers the city to take back their home. Sonic hears his plan and realizes that this energy crystal must be the Paradox Prism from the first episode. Plus, his shoes are like a compass to the prison due to their apparently shared energy. So this entire episode is basically just the group fighting the council's robots while running to the crystal. To take a break from the story real quick, this action in the show, some of the best action in any of the Sonic shows, in my opinion. Okay, back to where I am. So the council figures out that they're going for the core, which is where the crystal is. And now Rouge, or as she says her name is Rebel, Knux, and Rusty get separated due to a robot ambush, while Nine and Sonic make it to the core where the prism is. But when Sonic sees that the prism is smaller than usual, that's when he comes to the realization that it wasn't Eggman that used the crystal to make this dark cruel world. It was Sonic when he destroyed it, because he was focused on winning too much. So this little energy crystal is actually a shard of the entire prism. Sonic tries to grab it, but as his hands touch the shard, he gets sucked into it and disappears. Now to episode 4. It shows us in probably a new world where Rouge, Knuckles, and Big are scavenging for food, but they get ambushed by an unknown creature. Now back to Sonic. He falls from the sky and he doesn't know where he's at. Plus his gloves and shoes look different than they did before. He then finds Rebel, Knux, and Big, but they try to attack him and chase him. Plus Sonic's gloves have a Wolverine claw ability now, but then he comes to the realization that he's in another world with an altered Green Hill, except the plants and everything has overgrown and stuff like that. Also out of nowhere, Tails falls from the sky from them. And this is where we get introduced to these variants of the original characters. Rouge is prim, Knuckles is gnarly, and Big is hangry. Get it? And Tails is mangy. They tell the story of how they live from high in the trees because the monster is trying to keep them out of the forest, which prevents them from getting their food. So the only way to survive is just eating bark. So Sonic and the scavengers come to an agreement that if Sonic takes out the monster, they'll help him find the shard of the prism. So they head down to the forest and Sonic discovers that the monster is just a huge flicky. But after defeating it, he finds out that that's just the monster's pet. And that's when Amy comes out of nowhere with a big wooden hammer, whose name in this world is Thorn Rose. She just whacks Sonic across the forest, but then Thorn recognizes the glow from Sonic's shoes and says it looks like the Great Green. Sonic obviously knows that that's just the shard, so they come to terms where Thorn will help Sonic find the shard if he'll just leave. But along the way, she tells Sonic that she and the scavengers used to live in harmony, but then they got greedy and destroyed a bit of the forest and stuff. And that's when they find the shard. But Thorn decides to double cross Sonic and now she's just going nuts. Now to episode 5. We're halfway through the show, just bear with me here. Thorn says that now she has the power to protect the forest, which means that the scavengers will starve to death. So now Thorn uses the shard as a weapon attachment to her hammer, and Sonic's trying to fight for the hammer. Thorn uses the power of the shard to send Sonic back above. So he regroups with the scavengers to go back down to see if they can find some common ground, but it doesn't go so well, now they're fighting. And Thorn is chasing Sonic where they found the shard, which is also where a big palm tree is that isn't getting any light since Thorn is so protective of the green. Sonic snaps the hammer in half, which flies up and makes a hole where the sun shines on the tree, and that's when Thorn starts to regret what she's been doing and kind of tells her perspective on what she became the monster she is. The scavengers apologize and now they're all friends again. Yay! So then Sonic goes to find the shard, and as he's running, he sees Shadow telling him that he has to keep running. While Sonic being distracted, he trips and the shard touches his face, transports him back to New York City, where the rebels are fighting the robots. Now at episode 6, Sonic joins in the fight and tells Knux how in another world that he had another shard. Now the council figures out how there's another shard because, oh yeah, Rusty's working with the council again and recorded Sonic saying that, and yeah. Back to Sonic, the rebels are mad and he told them that he apparently stole the shard with 9 and abandoned the rebels. But later they start fighting robots and 9 is back flying a ship. He picks up Sonic and they open a portal since he used the shard from the world. They enter a world, or as Nine calls them, a shatter space, where there's nothing there. To start over, to have a new life, since Nine always lived in misery back in New York. But Sonic knows the rebels need help, so Nine transports him back there. So now Sonic is fighting with the rebels again, and Nine comes back with it, but then he gets captured by the council. Now at episode 7, it starts the episode with another flashback where Shadow found where Sonic was, moments away from destroying the shard, but Shadow uses Chaos Control after the world disappeared, and now Shadow is stuck in the Shatter Void. Now to the present. Sonic goes to find Nine, but he goes too fast to the point where he transports to another shatter space, where apparently is mostly covered in water. He lands on a small island where Rouge, Tails, and Amy are. Oh, another thing, these guys are pirates, and of course these guys talk in a pirate type voice. I feel like up to this point it's where I realized, oh yeah, this is a kid show, who'd have thunk? Later they go back to the main pirate ship with Sonic, where he finds out that Knuckles is the captain. No dare! The dude thought he was a pirate in that one Sonic Boom episode. Oh yeah, Big and Froggy are there too. At first Sonic thinks these guys are trying to kill him, but actually these are friendly pirates. Knuckles is the Dread, Rouge is Baton, Amy is Black Rose, and Tails is Sails. Interesting. Also, they just start to throw a party, and as I said, I think this part was, for me, was a reminder that this is of course a kid show. I don't know if I'm the only one, but this kind of reminds me of the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything from VeggieTales. I don't know if that's just me. The next day comes and we found out these guys do nothing but party all day, as they do every day. Sonic then tells them that he has to find a shard from this world, and the pirates kind of know what Sonic is talking about due to the incident that Dread told him. Sonic asks Dread if he can help, but he's like no, because it makes him nothing but pain. Then they get ambushed by Dread's old crew, and they did nothing about it and hid, except for Sonic, and after he lets them leave, Dread just kind of gives in, and Black Rose tells him about the incident. In this incident story, Dread was the captain of his old crew on a journey to the Devil's Lighthouse to find a unique piece of treasure, but his ship crashed and his crew abandoned him, and now, well, here he is. Sonic then realizes that since his shoes are a compass to the shard, they start to head over to the Devil's Lighthouse. But out of nowhere, a ship appears from the water, and wait, Rusty, the council's robots are here? Finally, we're on the last episode. Rusty and the robots just kind of ambush the ship and make a run to the shard. Luckily, everyone fixed up the ship. Cutting back to Nine, captured by the council, he kind of tells them that it'd be unwise to kill Sonic since apparently he's a living shattered battery. Back to Sonic. With Sonic's speed, he helps them get to the area where the shard is, which is also where they meet Rusty again. So Rusty and the robots start attacking, but the pirates start fighting back. The pirates and Sonic board Rusty's ship and they all start fighting. So the robots started heading over to the Devil's Lighthouse, so Sonic just throws Knuckles in a spin dash from like a Hail Mary all the way to the Devil's Lighthouse. Sonic and the pirates do end up defeating Rusty and the robots. As Knuckles grabs the shard, he falls and Sonic was fast enough to go save him, but the shard touches his nose and makes him disappear. So then Sonic just floats through the void and Shadow is there too. Sonic is like, I don't have time for whoever you are. I'm just trying to get back home, dude. And Shadow's like, our home disappeared because of you, you freaking spiky son of a... And that's it. No joke, that's literally how the show ends. Now, this show is really good. The action and the 3D animation is just so good. The voice acting is pretty good too. Sonic is voiced by Devin Mack, and he does a solid job. The same goes for all the other voice actors. There's even a couple of cameos here too. Jacksepticeye, who's mainly a gaming YouTuber, voices Captain Jack, one of the pirates from Dread's old crew. Valkyrie, a gaming YouTube streamer, is Commander Red, one of the rebels. The story is pretty good as well. The show was the highlight when I was sick during finals week. One of the only issues I had with the show is I don't know if it was the pacing, but there was something I had an issue with. Now, each episode was 22 minutes long, and yes, that is cool, but I feel a couple of episodes were just a little too long. I don't know if that was just me. I also felt like in the beginning we could have had a little more time in Sonic's world and then we forward to New York. Like it was just a short introduction and boom, we're into this new world. And the cliffhanger wasn't done right. When it ended, I was like, that's it? That's it? Come on! It was like when Patchy the Pirate found the lost SpongeBob episode and just saw this. Not gonna lie, it was that hype for season 2. Just a little though, not entirely. Before the show even came out, there was a batch of 24 episodes. Now, if we got all 24 episodes, it would have been insane, trust me. Now, I can understand why Netflix is cutting it to 8 episodes each season, but honestly, just because of how random the cliffhanger was, they should have finished the season with 1 or 2 more episodes, at least for me. This is a really good show, a bit rewatchable, but it does have some issues. I'll give this project a 9 out of 10, just barely. This video took forever to make, I'll tell you that. I hope I explained every project accurately enough. I wanted to put in some interesting little key points here and there to get the necessary parts of the story for each project. I was trying to be as non-Sonic biased as critical as I can be, but if I was biased entirely, I'd be giving each project an extra 1 point. Now, All of these are good projects, but I think the best out of all of them is Sonic Movie 2. Because here's the thing, Sonic 2 was a really good movie, as faithful to the games as it can be. It leaves hype for 2 new Sonic projects, a Knuckles live-action spin-off show, and in Sonic Movie 3, the voice actor for Sonic, Ben Schwartz, said that this new movie will be crazy. There's more hype for the future of the Sonic Cinematic Universe than there is for the next parts of the other projects. Sonic Frontiers was supposed to be a start for the next 10 years for Sonic, and it didn't revolutionize the franchise entirely, but it was definitely a good step in the right direction. A solid Sonic game. As for Sonic Prime,
Got the shot, I need the shot, give me the shot, I need the shot, give me the shot, they're gonna whack me, I'm gonna be dead without that shot.
while I am excited for the next batch of episodes, the new season, the cliffhanger kind of lowered my hype a little bit. I don't know why. Well, you already know why. As for Sonic Origins, in my opinion, a collection game that wasn't needed, but I can understand why one would get it. Aside from all the cons, these projects were great, and as a Sonic fan, it was a blast. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as
till it's cool, just cool, into the mouth. Nice.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.